Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys. All right. Worlds for you guys can't see anything just yet because I'm getting this ready. How you doing? Good? Great? Why don't you have it ready by the time you start the video? Let's go. Inside the world's first great ocean liner, SS Great Britain. Dan Snow. History hit, awesome channel. Preemptive like. My name is Connor. If you are new, I like to learn things and watch stuff, and I'm pretty cold right now. Yeah, let's just go. All right, let's go. Hit all the things. Let's go.
I'm very excited now because I've come to what is literally one of the wonders of the industrial world, the SS Great Britain.
Crystal.
Built in 1843, the masterpiece of the world's greatest engineer, Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunel. This was the largest ship in the world at the time. It was the most innovative and advanced, designed to carry people across the Atlantic at record speed. This is the grandparent of every modern ocean-going ship in the world.
I can't tell. It is wooden.
What I like about the museum here and the
Wait,
team
is it? Sorry.
is that they
Maybe it's not wooden.
preserved the hull as it was found in the 1970s in the Falkland Islands. They haven't given it a new lick of paint. And it's being protected by this atmospherically controlled environment. It's big dehumidifiers sucking water out of this area, and it's as dry down here as it would be in the deserts of Arizona. And this hull, you get a sense of the experience and the age of the ship. It's been around the world over 30 times. It's done 1 million miles at sea. It's 175 years old. It's one of the most special ships in the long history of mankind's engagement with the sea. It wasn't just the fact that this ship was made of iron that made it so innovative. It was also the way that it was propelled through the water in a new, efficient, and brilliant way. Let's come and have a look at the stuff.
Corkscrew propeller thing.
Until this point, steamships have been driven through the water by big paddle wheels on either side of the hull. But Brunel insisted on using a brand new piece of technology at the time, meaning this is one of the first ships in the world to use a propeller. A far more efficient way of driving the ship through the water. And efficiency meant cheaper and faster.
Guys, I did see a video a while back, maybe like a year ago or something, where they were like experimenting with these kind of corkscrew shape. Like, if you know what an Archimedes screw is that what it's called? It was kind of like a long tube that had the same shape of the propeller, but it was just longer, and they found out if they shortened it, it was much more efficient.
Up to that point in history, ships could take weeks and weeks to cross the Atlantic, and they were very much at the mercy of the weather. Now, the Great Britain could cross the Atlantic driven by this propeller at a steady 12 knots in 13 days. And that is why every ocean-going ship since has used one of these. Strolling along these magnificent decks, I've got the sense of what it must have been like to be a luxury passenger heading across to New York. But one thing you notice very quickly on these decks is that, as well as the funnel there for the engine, there's also masts. This was a transitional vessel between power and sail. So it was said that it was a steamship with auxiliary sail power. And that meant that if, in the event of there being a following wind that they could harness, they put the sails up, turn the engine off, and were pushed across the Atlantic for...
You guys know, like, if anyone's into, like, fossils and stuff, what they call oh my god. Like a missing link fossil, like a bridging... What is it called? Like, when they find a fossil of a whale and a whale's ancestor, for instance, but there's this intermediate fossil that kind of has very land-like and yet sea-like anatomy. It kind of shows the the middle product in between I'm going off track, but maybe a bad analogy, but you know how whales moved from land to sea millions of years ago, and it made more sense in my head.
free. So this is the
and like that's what this is. It has like the sails and it has the
steerage compartment, the cheapest way of getting around. It was added not for the Bristol-New York legs, but for the times when this ship used to carry passengers all the way to Australia. You'd be stuck in here with your neighbours for a long time. Look at these bunks. Let's see if I fit now these bunks. Okay. Whoa. That's pretty tight. Well, this would not be very comfortable for an 80-day voyage. Australia better be good. Well, in marked contrast to steerage, this is how the first-class passengers ate their meals. Silver service, champagne glasses, fresh food. It's said that on the SS Great Britain, you would eat a higher quality of food than you would eat on land. Particularly the journeys were so short between Bristol and New York, you could actually take fresh provisions on board. And they did have livestock on deck as well, so you get fresh eggs and milk and things like that. And then when the meal had finished, you could push this chair back into this position, and then you could then enjoy poetry, music, and drama recitals here. What we're looking at here is a revolution in travel. Previously, trips across the Atlantic would only be undertaken if people absolutely have to. They were miserable, they were dangerous. Now, suddenly, we're entering the modern era, a world we recognise so well. Travel for recreation, travel for fun, travel for holidays. Now, the brilliant team at the SS Great Britain have allowed us right down here behind the scenes into the heart of the engine. And it is extraordinary being here, being dwarfed by this 3-story...
Sorry, so people actually did that just for holiday, like for a weekend in New York, even back then? You're probably only really wealthy people, but... I mean, 2 weeks, so it'd be 2 weeks there, 2 weeks back, so that's a month just of travel time, and then maybe stay in the U.S. for like a month or maybe 2 weeks. And so it'd be a bit of a, long enough to justify the travel time, even though it seems pretty luxurious.
Iron and steel beast, cutting edge technology, driving this vast ship across the Atlantic at unprecedented speeds. And it's this engine that allows this ship to overcome the vagaries of weather, the weather that had restricted all of the voyages across the Atlantic up to that point. Suddenly, the ship is able to sail on a regular timetable. It's dependable. This is the start of the modern world we're looking at here. And steam engines at this point were highly unusual. It was very difficult to get engineers to work on these things, to find the right people, let alone build one, pack it into a ship and sail it across.
Sorry, is that real burning coals right there, or is that just for show?
Across the Atlantic.
It can't be real burning coals. That has to be for show. I'm an idiot, right?
Did build one, pack it into a ship and sail it across the Atlantic. It needed feeding with coal. It used about a ton of coal every 4 hours. Previously, everything that you could do to keep fire off a ship had been done. Now you're putting enormous fires right in the heart of the ship. Okay. You need men to feed those fires. So the coal was shoveled in to those furnaces there. It was between 40 and 60 degrees centigrade down here all the time. That's like operating the Sahara Desert. They were allowed 6 pints of water a day. That included their cooking and cleaning water as well, though. The only nod that they got, any special treatment, was that they were also given half a pint of rum to keep their spirits up. So that really adds the dehydration. Great.
Right.
So this is great. From down here, you get a sense of what this poor old ship looked like when it was rescued from the Falkland Islands. It had been scuttled. It had been deliberately sunk, and it had come to a rest on the seabed, hence some of the holes in the side of the hull here.
Wow, so
it was literally a shipwreck when it was rescued and brought back and turned into this magnificent museum. And also down here, you get a clear indication of what Brunel was dealing with. Because this ship was longer than any ship ever before, and because it was made of metal, thus putting new and unknown strains on the hull, he had to work out a way in which the ship wouldn't break its own back, just snap in half. And he did that by putting these box girders in here, right along the bottom of the ship from stem to stern. And he got these from building bridges. So what he's effectively doing is borrowing his knowledge from these other fields that he was working on, and strengthened this ship, gave it rigidity by effectively building a massive bridge right along the bottom of the ship next to the keel. So this is the forecastle, the part of the ship right at the front, right next to the pointy end, the bows. And it was up here traditionally that the sailors would sleep. The officers might have slightly nicer accommodation, but sailors would be stuck up here right in the bows. This was a pretty tough place to be accommodated. You'd be swinging on hammocks from these girders here, cheek by jowl, right in together. It would be 130 members of the crew, so they were packed into here. And because it's right at the tip of the ship, if you think about the way it goes over the waves, you'd
I think that's kind of fun. That's the first thing I thought of. It's right at the tip, so I feel like I would have a lot of fun. For like it seems fun, but I'm sure if you're working in difficult conditions and you're there all the time, I'm sure it gets not fun pretty quick.
From the extraordinary motion, you'd be going for a huge angle up here, so you better not get seasick or you'd recover soon, and you'd get used to it soon enough if you did. It's also very, very hot, not just all those other people, sweating bodies, damp with the sea spray. It was also going through the tropics, encased in iron like this. The temperatures were extraordinary. No, during those parts of the voyage that the crew would be allowed to sling their hammocks up on deck. The epic climax of my trip on board SS Great Britain have arrived. The team have very kindly let me turn on the engine, so here goes. Take that off, and
he gets this special treatment. I'm going. I better be able to turn on the engine too. Lucky bastard.
There it goes. Wow.
Look at something as simple as gears can just be so fat, so enjoyable to watch.
When you see it working, you just get a powerful sense of the engineering skill that allowed Brunel to send this ship powering across the Atlantic at hitherto unimaginable speeds and reliability.
Right? Imagine how fancy and nice and new that must have seemed. I'm going to say a maybe sounding stupid statement, but I think it's big. I think it's important. It's easy looking back on history to see everything viewed as in the past. Hang with me here. But this is going to be underwhelming. How the past is only the past to the past. Like how this will be the past in a lot of times, even though we feel like we're in the future, we see like rockets going up and everything. But every person who's ever lived on the planet must have felt at some point like they were living in the future, and living. And I feel like it's so easy to take yourself out of that and just think like you're separated from history, rather than realizing that everyone who's ever lived had very likely the same feeling, if not more so, sometimes less so, of, wow, look at the stuff we have now, and imagine if we didn't have it, and look what they had to do 100 years ago. I hope that made sense.
So big, the whole ship must have shaken with the effort of this going round. Welcome to the History Hit YouTube channel, which we are...
T-34 tank. Awesome, cool. Great. Getting started. See you guys next time.